Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. I want to make sure that as I go forward, everybody knows that I'm not getting personal and I'm not personally attacking anyone. I might attack what you say and how you feel and what you expressed, but I'm not going to attack you. And I certainly wasn't attacking Keith Boykin. I wasn't attacking anybody. Having said that, let me get to a more sensitive issue, because if you go on video right now, if you scan the digital stratosphere, social media and beyond, you're going to see footage and pictures of Mexicans waiting for appointments for the CBP One app. That's basically Border Patrol and people trying to come into the country or what have you. You're going to see an abundance of Mexican citizens crying. For anybody who enjoys that, who speaks of that with glee, with a smile on their face, you really got to question their humanity. Because what's happened to them is incredibly unfortunate. Upon being inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States, within the hour, President Donald Trump discontinued the CBP One app, leaving migrants in Mexico heartbroken, reading from the report here, with many reportedly seen crying after their appointments were canceled. Coming in heavily to deliver his promise of restricting immigration into the United States, Donald Trump banned the CBP One app that facilitated the legal entry of nearly 1 million people into the United States by granting them work eligibility. The decision was announced just minutes after Trump was sworn in as the 47th president. The impact of this move was immediate, as people in Mexico who were waiting for their CBP One parole appointments were reportedly left devastated upon hearing the news. According to a post shared on X by a gentleman by the name of Arelis R. Hernandez, a journalist with the Washington Post, some migrants in Mexico were seen crying when they learned that their appointments were no longer valid. They're denied entry. I'm going to repeat what I said seconds ago. Anybody who speaks on this subject in favor of Donald Trump's decision, with glee, with joy, coming out of their mouth, with their facial expressions, in their heart and soul, you really, really need to question their humanity. This is cruel. This is so unfortunate. This is so sad, but necessary. You see, when we're talking, and this is one of the problems that exist in politics. See, the one side only talks about the other side and what they do wrong. You ain't talking about what they did right. You're not talking about the wrong that they committed that was a necessary wrong. You see, that's what happens when you allow 14 million immigrants to enter the country illegally. If you didn't do that, Joe Biden, who, by the way, made sure he departed out of office, pardoning or granting clemency to over 2,500 people for nonviolent offenses, not to mention all of his family members, all of them, okay, made sure they couldn't be touched. If you didn't have open borders your first week on the job in 2021, it might not have come to this. You see, Trump talked a lot of smack. And this is the part that he's not given credit for. He talked a lot of smack about mass immigration and deportation and stuff like that. In his first term, he even talked about ending birthright citizenship. Remember that? But what did he actually do? He talked about building a wall, a great big wall, and the Mexicans are going to pay for it. And then they deduced that he probably built about 2% of the wall. You know why he couldn't get things done to the degree that he had portended and had campaigned on back in 2016? Because Barack Obama was the deporter in chief. He didn't advertise it, but he wasn't having it. He didn't allow folks to come en masse into our country. Nobody else allows it but us. Nobody. You can't go into Mexico like that. You can't go into Venezuela like that. You can't go anywhere in this world with those kind of open borders that Joe Biden okayed. Barack Obama didn't do it. And the reason why Trump had a hard time was because Barack Obama was the deporter in chief, they said. He just didn't advertise it. He didn't boast or brag about it. But had he done it, had he not done it, I'm sorry, then Trump could have lived up to his campaign promises. But you know why Trump couldn't do that when he was in office first go round? Because he would have mirrored Barack Obama or looked worse. We have to pay attention to what's going on. I bring up what Mr. Boykin said on CNN. Why? Because you're talking about what respect you have or lack thereof for black people who would perform at the inauguration. So obviously you feel the same way about people who voted for Trump. I did neither. I did neither. But when are you going to understand, and I know you do, sir, just like I know my man Roland Martin does. Y'all know this better than me. This is y'all lane. It's not my lane compared to y'all. I got that part. Some people try to sit up there and say Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump. Whatever. You opened the borders. 14 million people crossed. It cost this country billions, which is a subject we'll get into in just a second. But the reason why I brought up what we got to start doing. We can't keep talking about the right. We can't keep talking about conservatives. We can't keep talking about what a danger Donald Trump is to our society without mentioning the left, meaning Biden. You want to bring up the Central Park case? Donald Trump was clearly wrong, should have apologized. But we all know that when that was broached, particularly during the Democratic National Convention and the campaign trail, it was used as a tool to point to what some would deem racial insensitivity or racist behavior. When America was worried about their own wallets, they don't care because the vast majority of Americans are still white in this country. Hispanics don't make up 30% of the population. Blacks don't make up 15% of the population. It's still a predominantly white society. That's not going to fly with them anymore because they got their own bills to worry about and their own streets to worry about walking in. They ain't falling for it. So we got that issue. You brought up Donald Trump and being a landlord and not wanting to rent to black folks. Did you mention Joe Biden and his relationship with segregationists? Robert Byrd? West Virginia? KKK member? Did you bring that up? See, if you bring up Donald Trump with that, you got to bring that up. If you bring up Donald Trump with that, you got to bring up Joe Biden, senator, prominent senator, with Clinton's crime bill that was widely accused of contributing to mass incarceration that disproportionately affected black people in this nation. Got to bring that up. At least. Did you forget to bring that up, or did you not want to point out how the Congressional Black Caucus has something to do with persuading Joe Biden to take the positions that he took as a senator at that particular moment in time in the 90s when Bill Clinton was in office? You got to mention it. Did you have any problem with Joe Biden going on the Breakfast Club and trying to define who was black and who wasn't? in terms of you choosing him or Biden. If you don't vote for me, you vote for Trump, you ain't black. We can't have it both ways, is all I'm saying. And right now, that's what got the Democrats booted out of office. That's what has them being the minority in the House and the Senate, and how they've lost the White House. Yeah, there's something on social media right now with Elon Musk and giving a Nazi sign not once but twice. You're hearing about Trump and how he's determined to do away with entitlement programs and what have you. And you've got minorities in this country wondering what the hell is going on. First, you're attacking immigration, and then you're attacking entitlement programs. So everything is going to be catered to white people. I already know what everybody's saying. I'm not here to say you wrong. We're going to see. We're going to see. But while we're looking to see what Trump does, we already know what the left has done, which is why we've tired of hearing stuff like this from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, better known as AOC. Take a listen.
Well, we are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like. Republicans really model themselves after Orban's Hungary. And so you can look to see how Viktor Orban runs Hungary to get a taste of how they will try to govern and control media and companies in the United States. And this is kind of an entree to that. As far as what we do, you know, this is a time of experimentation. A lot of people will still use platforms, can still use platforms, but I also look towards places where you have more ownership as well and develop your audiences there. Like Blue Sky, you own your audience. It's a protocol, decentralized protocol.
Did you say control the media, AOC? By the way, I appreciate your work. I appreciate what you do for your constituencies in the Bronx, but your constituency in the Bronx. But did you talk about controlling the media? Is that what you brought up? So the left has had no control, huh? So the left has not engaged in bullying tactics. So woke culture didn't exist, where people had to make sure they echoed the right pronoun in order to keep their job security. Where you had to sit up there and, God forbid, you literally challenge somebody with regards to transgender issues, and you were considered to be transphobic. Where 1 minute we were called upon to protect the young ladies and the women in our society, and then that got thrown out the window the second a male was transitioning to female and wanted to participate in female sports. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't any consistency with the stuff that had been being spewed beforehand and ultimately enforced. So that is the Republicans that we need to be worried about, but not y'all. Y'all would never do such a thing. Oh my goodness, it would never be you. It would never be y'all. That would never happen, huh? Really? Really? This is exactly why Trump is in office. Racist, fascist, and all of these other names. Yeah, that's what you do when you're on the left. Not paying attention to the fact that a vast majority of the American people tired of that. When you going to tell us a message we want to hear? When you going to tell us a message we need to hear? Right now, let me read to you. Read to you from the Wall Street Journal today. Allow me to put on my reading glasses and read this to you. Verbatim from the Wall Street Journal. President Trump plans to sign executive orders to overhaul border and energy policies and end diversity programs across the federal government, unwinding signature Biden administration policies on the first day of his second term. Trump's immigration plans include ending birth citizenship, deploying troops, and declaring a national emergency at the southern border, as well as ending asylum by speeding deportations. Trump said as he was sworn in on Monday. Quote, with these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. Those were his words. What ammunition would he have to say such a thing? How about everything I pointed out? Trump didn't win the election. You all lost. You put him in there. And let me get real raw with this. It got so bad with Biden in office, racism was thrown aside. Transgender issues don't make up 1% of this population. Black people make up nearly 14% of this population. And for a vast majority of the last few years, that issue has been more important than issues pertaining to black people, it seemed. That is just the truth. And I didn't even bring up the money. We don't have money for police officers. We don't have money to keep the streets safe. We don't have money to make sure there's no inflation. Or that if there is inflation, it doesn't drastically affect us because you got enough people in America making a hard-earned, honest, fruitful living. But we got enough money to let in 14 million immigrants illegally. We got enough money for $53 million in prepaid credit cards in the state of New York. We got enough money to allow 17 cities in the United States to be sanctuary cities, at least. We got enough money to throw billions to Ukraine. We got enough money for all of that. But we don't have enough money to address American needs. I've said to y'all on repeated occasion, what is my ultimate claim to success? It happened in 2009 when I got fired. And I had to take a long, hard look on myself, at myself. It's in my book, Straight Shooter, A Memoir of Second Chances and First Takes. You really should read it. It's very motivational and inspirational. You really should check it out. What did I say back then? An epiphany hit me. And I learned to wake up every day because 99% of us have a boss. And I learned to wake up every day and learn that my mantra is, how do I make my bosses more money? How do I get some of it? Because the system is rigged, ladies and gentlemen. The power brokers that be, almost all of whom are white, have designed a system to ensure they're going to get theirs. And in order for you to get yours, even while you're getting yours, they're going to get theirs. You just saw me talking about Drake and Kendrick Lamar the other day. Both of them under the Universal Music Group umbrella. You don't think there's white folks in power at the Universal Music Group, UMG? You don't think so? You don't think all these artists out here that's making money, there ain't somebody white near the top or at the top that's making sure they get their share? Agents, lawyers, accountants. The system is designed to make sure they get paid. The trick is figuring out how you get paid too. And what the Democrats did over the last few years was somehow manage to figure out a way to convince you, somehow, some way, you were going to omit, eliminate, and eradicate them and have the fruits of your labor all to yourself. And the Trump administration is a declaration of the obvious. Hold on, not so fast. Our system don't work that way. You can go ahead and get yours, but we gonna get ours. We ain't gonna sit here doling out all of this money with one thing after another that ultimately compromises our pockets instead of bloat them. That's what happened. That's the truth. And the comeuppance arrived to the left because what they tried to do was eliminate an entire system. of government that the American people are not only comfortable with, but addicted to. And everything you see right now is them reminding you of that. That's why Trump and his administration teased Biden out the door, showing a picture of him in the White House and an eviction notice. That's why Elon Musk is up there doing whatever damn symbols and signals he's doing. It's why change came. And as alarming as the change is, it seemed closer to most American citizens to normalcy than what we've been experiencing the past 4 years. This ain't about the right anymore. It's about what the left tried to turn this nation into. And guilted us, and fear-mongered us, and intimidated us into supporting. No more. No more. Independence is the way to go. The hell with the right and the left. Do what's best for you and do what's best for this country. Bump what they think, what they feel, or how you should be. Enough's enough. Independence is the way to go. Because of that reason more than anything else.